Yesterday in Emmerdale, Tate delighted in informing Cain Dingle that Moira Dingle had officially sold her portion of Butler's farm to the Tate family. Cain was devastated by the revelation and quickly tried to get explanations from Moira during his most recent visit to see her in prison. While speaking with her, Cain questioned whether Moira had handed the farm to the Tates because she now considered him weak after learning about his cancer diagnosis. Earlier in the week, Cain had revealed his illness to Moira, but insisted he would still battle the Tates and refused to let them take control of the farm. However, that claim wasn't entirely true, and Moira attempted to reassure him that selling the land was the best decision so he could focus on his health. Although Moira cared deeply about Butler's farm, she admitted the constant pressure surrounding it had become overwhelming, making it easier for her to finally let it go. During their conversation, Moira sounded somewhat relieved about the decision, but Cain could only dwell on the fact that Joe and Kim Tate had ultimately won. Later at Home Farm, Cain struggled to accept that Kim could sympathize with Moira's choice to sell the property. He warned that once his cancer treatment is over and he regains his strength, he plans to come after the Tates and tear down everything they have built. That same evening, Cain gathered the family together and informed them that Butler's farm now belonged to the Tates. Matty Barton was heartbroken by the news and rushed out of the pub in tears, overwhelmed by everything he has lost over the past year. Even though Kim had warned him to stay away, Joe couldn't resist returning to the pub to gloat in front of Cain. With a smug grin, he revealed that the new tenant farmer at Butler's would be someone the Dingle family knew extremely well. The entire family turned toward the person in shock, stunned by what they saw and feeling completely betrayed. Dark intentions begin to surface in Emmerdale as Graham prepares to intensify his efforts to bring Kim Tate down. He has already made it clear that his reason for staying at Home Farm is entirely connected to Joe Tate, believing he can guide his protégé into realizing that Kim's influence leads him down the wrong path. Not long after returning from the dead, Graham took satisfaction in reminding Kim that, legally speaking, their marriage has never been dissolved. Kim quickly suspected that his reappearance in the village was motivated by a desire to gain control of parts of her business empire, and she promised to uncover proof so Joe would realize Graham's true intentions. While dealing with that conflict, Kim is also struggling with the emotional impact of having her former partner suddenly back in her life. In upcoming scenes, she confides in Lydia Dingle that she plans to keep her feelings guarded and avoid letting Graham affect her again. However, it becomes obvious that simply discussing Graham's return and the emotions it stirs within her leaves Kim feeling unexpectedly vulnerable. At the same time, Joe grows increasingly irritated with Graham, growing tired of his repeated attempts to convince him that Kim cannot be trusted. Despite Joe's frustration, Graham refuses to give up and becomes determined to push even harder to reveal what he believes is Kim's darker nature. The question now is whether Graham will succeed in turning Joe against her. As part of his plan to bring Kim down, Graham may decide to seek assistance from another familiar face in the village. Soon after he walked into the pub to announce his dramatic return, Ruby Milligan stood up to introduce herself to him. Caleb Milligan didn't feel the need for introductions, however, because he already had a history with Graham. Back in 2023, when Caleb was attempting to take control of Home Farm from Kim, viewers discovered that he was actually the son of Frank Tate. Frank tragically died after suffering a heart attack, and Kim showed little remorse as she watched the events unfold. Believing he had a rightful claim to the Tate fortune, Caleb arrived in the village, determined to ruin Kim completely. Later that year, Caleb finally revealed his true identity to Kim and accused her of standing by while Frank died. When Kim questioned how he could possibly know about something that happened so long ago, Caleb shocked her by explaining that he had once gotten Graham drunk and learned the truth about Frank's final moments. Because of that shared history, it wouldn't be surprising if Graham now turned to Caleb for support in his latest scheme. Since Caleb is also Joe's uncle, his involvement could increase the chances of Joe eventually distancing himself from Kim. For now, Graham remains calm and patient while quietly building his strategy, raising the possibility that his plan to destroy Kim might actually succeed. Drama continues to build in Emmerdale next week as Graham confronts Joe Tate over a troubling scheme aimed at the Dingle family. Joe is set to be exposed as major developments unfold for both the Dingles and the Sugden clan. Earlier this week, Moira Dingle agreed to sell Butler's farm to the Tate family after Joe quietly interfered behind the scenes to ensure the deal went through. Cain Dingle was far from pleased with his wife's decision, though Moira insisted she had done it to protect their family's future, while she remains imprisoned for a double murder she did not commit. Following the sale of the land, Joe quickly appointed Robert Sugden as the new tenant farmer, allowing the Sugden family to take control of the farm once again. However, it appears Joe's manipulative tactics are far from over. As Robert and his fiancée Aaron Dingle begin settling into life at the farm, and the Dingles look into starting their own new agricultural venture, Joe unexpectedly turns his attention toward Lydia Dingle. Cain, who had been hesitant at first, eventually returns to the Dingle household after spending years living elsewhere. Not long after, he and his relatives become suspicious when Joe arrives and suddenly apologizes to Lydia over recent events. Joe then shocks everyone further by offering Lydia a pay raise, a gesture that also leaves Kim Tate questioning what he might really be planning. When Cain announces his intention to build a brand new Dingle farm, the rest of his family quickly rally behind the idea and promise to help make it happen. Meanwhile, Robert is deeply moved when he discovers that Aaron has restored the original Emmerdale farm sign, symbolizing a fresh beginning for them while honoring the show's long history. Their new chapter, which some have nicknamed the Sugden Reboot, marks the start of an exciting future for the couple. Yet while both families focus on rebuilding their lives and planning what comes next, Joe appears to still be plotting something in the background. His unusual behavior toward Lydia suggests he may be preparing another move. Before long, Graham steps in and directly challenges Joe, revealing that he already knows about the secret plan Joe has been hiding. The big question now is what exactly Joe is planning and who could be affected by his next move. It also remains to be seen whether his scheme will actually unfold or if Graham will manage to stop him first. Viewers will have to watch next week's episodes to discover what Joe is really up to and how far he is willing to go to achieve his goals. Regardless of the outcome, the storyline featuring the Dingles, the Sugdens, and the Tates, all clashing over farmland, is certain to bring a wave of nostalgia for longtime fans of the ITV soap. Emmerdale is broadcast on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1, and episodes are also available to watch online through ITVX.